a lot of times he said, well, this isn't how our existing zoning code is written. But our existing zoning code wouldn't let a lot of the city be built. And so we're deliberately trying to encourage them to build more like what we have and like we put on postcards. Because, yeah, we have to make an exception for them if we want to get the kinds of places that we already have and treasure, unfortunately. And yeah, those are the two things.
Right.
And thank you for talking on PNC, or at PNC.
Thanks. Councilman Dyer.
I think in almost every case for any development that's going to happen in our city, you're going to need a development agreement, period. There's no way you're going to get around it. You're going to have an agreement that stipulates all the things that are abnormal as far as the ordinances are concerned. And even when we get the UDO, we're still going to need to do development agreements. So I think it's good that they're getting involved in this, and I would value their input, and they're always in the loop when it comes to a development agreement. So I think this is a good move.
I have
Right.
one question I just thought of. You know, with Alsatian Oaks, we did a town hall meeting, brought in everybody and discussed the agreement and discussed what was going to be happening and everything. That way citizens could ask questions. Are we looking at doing that with this development?
Well, I think with all of them, I'm trying to figure out the best way to state this. One thing that I think I've proven is that the way that I set up our agendas and the way that I have always encouraged public hearings, public meetings, is more conversation is always better. It's always better to do this in front. The town hall meetings that we have, that one was very specific. It was a first in kind. We've already had that one, so people already understand what the fundamentals of that development agreement is on our website, and we continue to talk about these different things. And that's part of one of the biggest reasons that as we go through the UDO process, which is going to be, I think that a lot of the stuff that is in our development agreement policy now will go into the UDO as that's developed, the kind of the successor to the CCO, the update of that. And that's why we're doing those meetings in public and creating those things. And that's why we put this in front of planning and zoning so that we can talk about that. So having something that is very specific about the development agreement policy, I don't know that it's a terrible idea, but I think that it because we're creating all of the different places for conversation outside of that and in these meetings and having more meetings than we're obligated to, many more meetings than we're obligated to, we're getting the information out. But we can talk about how do we make sure that that it's very clear about the things that we feel are important and make sure that we're getting that feedback from the.
But I'm just talking about, you know, when it comes to referencing this ordinance this policy and everything, with each development, it's different. And we all know that. There are differences with each development. So that's why with Alsatian Oaks, we had a town hall meeting just for Alsatian Oaks. That way citizens could ask their questions, everything, how would this affect them, what have you. I'm just asking for this next development coming up. Are we looking at doing the same thing? That way they can look at the development agreement, ask their questions of us for this particular development agreement, and get the word out that way.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot more, if I remember back, because I did attend those public hearings when they were doing that, I think it provided a lot more context into what the overall look was. I think there was still a lot of confusion about that, but it's providing that the picture that means that replaces 1,000 words. We got 1,000 words out there, getting some better pictures out there of demonstrating that and what some of these are. I don't think that's a terrible idea. Let's figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, because it was very beneficial, because you know how it is.
Yeah.
People put the spin on social media, misinformation gets sent.
Yeah.
And so those town hall meetings helped because citizens were able to ask, well, what's the benefit to the city? How will it affect us? all that, what's the footprint? It's very beneficial, and I think it's very wise of us as a council and as the city to have these type of town hall meetings for agreements.
Yeah.
That way, everybody knows, can ask their questions, and we can be upfront with them and everything, just like we do in Alsatian.
Yeah. Well, I think that we've been pretty open, but I think that there's always the opportunity to be.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, let's talk that through, and we'll come up with something, some kind of, we'll have to figure out how to implement that so that we can actually get people here. If we start having more, the other thing that I wonder about, you know what, I think that if we set up something like that, I think.
Yeah,
that
we had it at the Braden Keller Center, that
Yeah.
way there was plenty of room.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. We'll come back with a proposal during the next council meeting, and I'm going to put that on the pending agenda list.
So are we discussing the guidelines here or
All the development agreement policy.
Yeah, what she's talking about is, so the discussion on comments received from Planning and Zoning Commission, review of the draft development agreement policy, and she's just saying it would be really good to have that open discussion. So we're just talking about how do we ensure that the public is aware of, in agreement with, and supportive of the development agreement policies, understanding the reasoning behind them, and so we're just talking through.
Why we did certain exemptions, that kind of stuff, and that way.
I just thought you were talking about the development agreement itself that you
Just the policy.
Yeah, for the policy.
working on the policy,
That way we can
right.
follow it.
It's good to have, we've had a lot of meetings about this, but I don't think that the general public comes to every single meeting. I mean, we hit this ad nauseum, so it'd be kind of like a compilation meeting that would take all of the little minor meetings, because we handle individual items at different meetings, and just bring it into one comprehensive
Town hall.
town hall, yeah. All right, I like that. Okay, is that clear? Okay, next item is, did I hit everything on that?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. Next item is discussion on stop sign placement.
Chief
Hmm?
Chief left.
Chief left. No, he didn't.
He was hiding.
Magically, here's the dartboard, go
Hey,
ahead.
that's
the
kind of like
dartboard.
that's kind of like the traffic cars that I see over in San Antonio that,
Exactly.
yeah, nice.
I think we brought up back in July, Scott, was that correct? Some questions as far as the stop signs? I've had,
That sounds right,
yeah, a couple of people approach me about stop signs, slowing down the traffic. Other than that, there's no real reason why they would want that stop sign. I've been threatened that the lady was going to go dig the hole herself and put the stop sign in. And really, you know, in policing, I'm not the traffic engineer guy. I'm not the guy that understands this, you know, we enforce the speed limits. And I think when you look at it, the stop signs, if it's there for a reason, yes, but it shouldn't be used as a calming effect. That's more of an enforcement type of issue. You know, one of them that I put a notation is like Country Lane and Village Path. The stop sign's on Country Lane, which makes no sense to me when I'm driving down that road why that stop sign's there, other than to slow people down.
It's historical.
Yeah.
I could explain that.
Yeah, so it's really weird. I mean, but if you go down some of these side streets and you look at where it gets into the business areas, the limited sight distance that you have on some of these buildings, I get it why there's a stop sign there, I really do. We reached out to an engineer, he gave us a quote to basically tell us where all the stop signs should be and look at it, and I think it was about $18,000. I don't see any real, I know in the past they've gone and the chief sat there and counted the cars. I don't know what counting the cars does as far as, you know, I know there's some stipulations in here about that. I don't see really any type of traffic accidents. Most of them are the intersecting streets with 90 and 90, 471, and those type of roads. Very few accidents are on these side streets with the speed limits and the stop signs. I don't know what the answer is. I know that $18,000 is a lot of money. So, I mean, brought it up to Mr. Dixon and everything else. And I kind of put in here, it says, you know, here's some of the things that you should look at is vehicular, bicycle, pedestrian traffic, volumes on all approaches, number of angle approaches, the approach speeds, sight distance, which we have some issues with, and some reported crash experience. There's some other things that I've added in here that, I mean, if you look through the historical data that I sent, basically, there are some few other exceptions, but mainly those are the ones that are there. You know, I'm the dartboard when it comes to those citizens coming to the police department. I don't think that I'm the expert by any means to telling you where a stop sign is at or is not at. That's really just like me telling you what the speed limit should be. Usually those are studies done by engineers. They come back with a recommendation to people. We just need some direction is what we need.
So can you explain the backup documentation that we have in here? I know that we've got the quote from Pape Dawson Engineers. The other one, it looks like what I saw in the TxDOT regulations.
You are correct.
These are the TxDOT standards.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it says right here, yield or stop signs should not be used for speed control.
Right.
No, and I've seen some very lively discussions between police chiefs and engineers. You know, and that always goes back to, you know, you should, in my opinion, you should rely on the experts. I am by far, by any means, an expert on traffic control devices.
The way I've always looked at it is engineers definitely have their place because they have the science behind it, but you also need, like in the business that I do in construction or in manufacturing, you always do the validation with the people that are out on the
Correct.
road. Everything that we do, like with our own systems, you look at the engineering reports on the lift stations, but then you also talk to the guys that are going out and fixing them.
Correct.
So to me, it's a combination of the traffic policies. TxDOT has probably the most advanced traffic policies out of everyone, even though I don't agree with their implementation, especially out on Highway 90, but it's also validated that through you. Have you seen, do we have statistics on accidents, pedestrian and vehicular accidents around these different areas where people are asking for these?
I could probably research that through our CRIS reports. To my knowledge, been here, 2 years now, as interim and the chief, I've seen no pedestrian at all at those locations that they want the stop signs at. I don't even recall having a pedestrian accident, truly don't. I'd have to go back and look. We're pulling stats from that now on those crash reports. We went to CRIS, November, December, and that's basically a clearinghouse where you can pull a lot of data, you can do a lot of reports and stuff like that, so we're kind of toying around with that right now. He knows the system. I don't know it that well, it's new to me. It's been around for a while, but some police departments don't use it. It works much easier, and you can pull a lot more data out of it. So I can tell you the two that I said, the stop signs that they've asked me for, no. One of them is concerned about the school children during school times, but it's pretty good ways from the school. And I know there's a lot of pedestrian traffic around schools and stuff like that, but this is a good distance. What I was told, there was a stop sign once there. I'm like, I don't know that.
And I think we've all seen it. I mean, I live right next to the park, and Gentiles has one stop sign on it, and we don't have young kids, but you know, the people that live around us have young kids, and I know it was always when they put in my neighbor's sewage system when he built that house, it created this divot in the road, and I was really upset the day that the street department fixed that. Because people went too fast, they'd leave their mufflers at the ground.
Well, you look at some people that you look at the speed humps. Some people, you know, some cities will go those speed humps. Some of them like them. Some engineers don't. You know, it's tomato, depending on that road. Usually it's like a cut-through path. Quicker to go down that street. It's not a main drag, but it's quicker to go down that street than go all the way around, so they cut through. So,
Well, my big question about that is, if people aren't, if we're doing them, I mean, just because TxDOT says you shouldn't use them for speed control, I always question that. But my question is, if people aren't gonna follow the speed limit sign, why are they gonna follow the stop sign? They're two different signs, two different things, they get a ticket for either one, so I don't know that it's that effective.
Yeah, I've had loads of complaints when they were reading this come to me about, yeah, you know, it doesn't do any good because they either do a California roll or they don't even do that.
I can tell you I was at council, I mean, I came up here the other morning for some meeting, and I just parked my Tahoe, and phew, there went a truck by me. Had to be doing 40, 45 at least. Turned around, pulled him over. His excuse was he was late to take an exam. Way too, I mean, it was ridiculous fast. You know, so it's just, you're not gonna, like you said, you're not gonna control them all. To me, some of it comes to an enforcement issue. If they said, go ahead and put those stop signs there, let's put the stop signs there. You know, I don't know, like I said, from the standpoint of me being the engineer.
Right. Now, Councilman Dyer, I know that you've been the one that's been really very vocal about this, and so we wanted to put it on here. I don't think we have an answer right now, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about it, to discuss what you've talked about with the people in the neighborhoods.
Well, I think the best people that are in the position to determine whether a neighborhood needs a stop sign are the people sitting up here who talk to those people every day about their district. And I know I have one place in my district where the residents are very vocal, and that's Geneva and Florence. They want a three-way intersection instead of letting Geneva go straight through with no stop signs. There are several people that feel like they've almost been killed, and especially when it's wet. So I'm not in favor of doing another study, because when I brought this up several years ago, first thing we did was went out and buy radar machines. Then we did studies. Now we're talking about spending another $18,000 for another study. But I think in the information it says we can put a stop sign in for $300. So I'd like to go spend $600 and put two stop signs at the Geneva and Florence intersection and come back in about a year and let you know what the people think about it. And if they really don't like it, take them out. If they really do like it, leave them in.
So I want to be clear, if
There
we want
is
to
no
do that, which is fine, if y'all want to do that, it's fine. And staff was not proposing spending $18,000, just to be clear. You asked us to go look at what it would cost to do a study for the entire city and look at where our stop signs are presently, and then develop basically a protocol, if you will, for where stop signs should go, right? And that would be an engineer would do that, a traffic study, and yeah, we aren't recommending it, but we looked into it, that's what it costs. And we got two different engineering groups to give us two different quotes. But just to be clear, if you all want to establish stop signs, that is done by ordinance in the city of Castroville, and you just got to tell us where you want them, and then we'll prepare ordinances for you to then adopt, and then we go out and put them in. That's how that works.
That's all I have.
Okay. Please.
So, two things. You mentioned that there have been no pedestrian accidents at these locations that stop signs are requesting. I would be curious how many pedestrian accidents we have on the Highway 90 bridge. I would guess it's pretty few, because it's terrifying to walk across. If I know that people are going to regularly fly by at 50 miles an hour, that's going to be a pretty strong disincentive to go anywhere near that road. And so if the people living at these intersections feel like people are driving at unsafe speeds, they're not going to let their kids go out and play in the front yard.